Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Find a Moment podcast, where we navigate the space between ideals and everyday life. We are your hosts, Gretchen Roberts and Jennifer Ford, and we look forward to finding a moment with you today.
Hello, welcome. We are starting a standalone episode today on Lent as we are getting ready to transition into that season that leads up to Easter. Gretchen and I are gathering resources, and she's done a really great job of pulling some things together specifically to share with you as you are preparing. I feel like we just kind of came out of Advent, so this is kind of catching me off guard, feeling like a lot of times going into Advent, I feel, oh man, it's already? I'm not prepared. I felt prepared for Advent, I think because we had talked about it so much, Gretchen.
Right.
But I don't feel prepared for Lent. And Ash Wednesday is this coming Wednesday. Right. So a week from today when we're recording. We have not done this a lot this season, but one of the things we did pretty consistently, I feel like, Gretchen, in season one, is we would share a meaningful moment at the beginning of each episode. And that's just sort of a way for our conversation to warm up a little bit and for our listeners to get to know us. But I was wondering if you have a meaningful moment.
Yes, I do. And I shared a little bit about it in an Instagram story, I think maybe a week ago. Maybe 2 weeks ago. The days run together when you've been sick and had snow days and all the things.
Yeah, the snow too.
But I really learned so much through our series on grief. And I felt like in the past I have felt unequipped to really walk through a season of grief or suffering with people. And I really felt like both Taya and Catherine just helped me to see that it is not about me having the answers or the right words to say. It is about just entering in. And so a friend stopped by, and she's going through a really dark season. And I just felt the freedom to listen. And in the past, when we've talked and, kind of processed together all that she is going through, and I feel like in the past I have felt just this internal kind of struggle of, I want to have the right words to say, and I just want her to know how much I care about her, but just not knowing what that looked like, and really feeling like I didn't have the right words to say. And sometimes what I realized is there aren't good words to say a lot of times because it's just the brokenness. And so I was able to just invite her in and listen. And I felt such a sense of freedom in just listening that allowed me to enter in, and I feel like be there for her in a way that words did not do in the past. And so I just really felt like it was meaningful for her, and she agreed that it was really impactful for her just to be able to walk through this with a friend. And it was really some baby steps for me of entering in and listening and not having to have the answers and not having to try to fix things or be the helper, but just the companion of presence. So it was really meaningful, and it encouraged me with the amount of peace that I felt that I haven't felt in those situations before.
Yeah, that is just a testimony to both of those ladies, to Catherine and Taya, using their own experiences and their hard things as a way to minister to others. And then that just kind of, it's like this continuation. I have a picture in my mind of like, there's some tech features with our phones that will ping from like phone to phone to phone. I don't know if it's like some navigation things, but it's not that my phone is directly connecting to the AirTag or whatever that's 10 miles away. It's like that there's this continuous connecting of all the devices in between. So it kind of gives me that image of that, like one person's hard thing gets shared, and then that empowers someone else and teaches someone else to know how to love someone else in their hard thing. It's like this continuing of the connecting and the caring.
Yes. That gave me a visual of Christmas Eve service where one person has the candle and you pass the light, and pretty soon the whole room is lit. So by just sharing the little light that you have, it can light up the darkness.
Yeah. That's really special. You know what that was making me think of, though, Gretchen, is I remember where I was in my backyard. This is when we lived in Hampstead, and we were having conversations about just some changes that needed to happen in a co-op that we had worked to put together with a lot of other families here. I was so devastated with what we knew the next steps were going to have to be. But I remember you saying, I completely understand and I will be with you the whole way. And I thought, no one's ever spoken to me like that when I was troubled or when I was that was grief for what I thought our kids, like for our girls, what I thought our school, our education experience was going to be like with all these other families. That was real grief when I had to just come face to face with the fact that big changes were going to come. That was very devastating, honestly. But the way that you responded was, I understand and I'm going to be here for you. And that was almost a decade ago. That was before our friendship had really like taken hold and gotten deep.
Right.
But even then, like you still knew what I needed to hear.
I don't remember. See, that's why we do this, so we can remember all the things.
There are so many.
I love that. Do you have a meaningful moment?
I do. So yesterday and today I had some very rare things happen. Today was a first. Yesterday was a first time in a long time, but this is kind of random. But yesterday I had a dentist appointment and I haven't been in a really long time because I've been putting other people at our house
brave.
first. And I had just told myself I had prepared myself for the worst. Like you've got this and this going on and you're going to need 3 of these and you're going to have 2. And at the end of the appointment, he said, "You're good." And I said, "Are you kidding me?" I mean, I wanted to shake him and be like, okay, now really tell me the truth. I had gotten myself so freaked out. And I'm not an alarmist. I'm not a pessimist. I'm not a negative person. But it was almost like I had just told myself the story of like, now it's your turn.
Right.
And you have been negligent and you're going to have to pay in a lot of ways.
Literally.
So that was truly miraculous. And Carrie had asked his whole small group to pray for my appointment. And they did. But I really thought, like, Lord, you just did something miraculous. There's no way. Because I told myself, don't look in your mouth anymore because you're going to make up really scary stories. But then today was sweet. I say sweet. Today was a good day because I passed my state and national real estate exams.
Yay.
And so now I'm kind of launching into what does it look like to be a professional again. So I kind of hold that loosely because I feel like I have just been so grateful for the sacrifices that our family has been willing to make for me to be able to stay home for 17 and a half years.
Wow. Wow. We'll be praying for you in this next season and
thank you.
All the moments it will bring,
There
right?
will be a lot.
Yes.
I do just worry, like, will I be able to balance everything and will I be as available as I want to be? And Carrie's so sweet. He's like, you don't have to. You don't but I feel like it will be the gateway to some yeses that could come sooner if I do this. And I know that I'll enjoy it, but it's just it's different. It's different. So that's meaneful.
Yes,
Meaningful
congratulations.
Change. Thanks. You made me feel very celebrated today when I got here.
It's a lot of studying and work, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, our conversation today, I am looking forward to just getting to hear you kind of talk through the resources that you're going to share. And of course, our show notes. Gretchen does a beautiful job of always pulling together all the resources and things that we mention and discuss here on our podcast. And so you can also sign up for our newsletter. Yes. And Gretchen, why don't you tell them how to find the newsletter?
So if you go to medicinemotherhood.com, there's no and in the middle, it's just medicinemotherhood.com. If you go there, there will be a pop-up where you can enter your email address. And we will just send you email updates every time we have a new episode or a new blog post. And it'll have a link right in your email inbox for all of the show notes too. So it'll be an easy place for you to find the most recent episode and the show notes. So go ahead and subscribe, as they say.
Gretchen, I'm going to transition over to you and let you just kind of share the broader vision for our podcast for maybe some of our newer listeners, and then let that connect into our conversation about Lent.
Wonderful. So kind of the heart behind our podcast was to share our friendship and our lives with you all, and to primarily focus on navigating the space between ideals and everyday life, because we both are pretty idealistic and we both have kind of at times some messy everyday lives. So navigating the space in between the two of those was kind of the heart of our beginnings. And so we really wanted to talk about all the things about friendship, about family and health and fitness and education and motherhood. I mean, all the things that we as women and families and believers go through. But really the heart of our friendship and the foundation of both of our lives is our faith. And so it really is an integral part of all of those, as you would call them, categories. Really, our faith and our relationship with Christ is is basically the foundation of all of those. So that is the worldview, the perspective, the posture that we come to this podcast with. So if you're listening and you do not know what that looks like, or you have never heard about walking with Jesus, like, we would love to enter into that with you. So you can always email us. You can comment on our social media. You can send us a message. That is really our heart's desire, is that everyone would know the peace and the joy and the hope that comes from a relationship with Christ. So that leads us into another season of the church, and that is the Lenten season. We talked about Advent leading up to Christmas. The past probably 5 to 10 years, I have read a lot more about the church history and the church calendar, and I just love the rhythm of seasons. And we see it in nature with the 4 seasons and kind of what you experience in your anticipation of the next season. And so incorporating the church calendar into that cyclical rhythm really helps for me, it has helped to anchor my life and to anchor my faith walk. And it builds in those times of reflection and refining to where we're not just always having to react to the world around us, but we can be more of a responder to the world around us, because we have come to that season prepared. So the season of Lent is a 40-day season that begins on Ash Wednesday, and it ends. Different traditions end Lent at different times. Some people end Lent on Easter Sunday, some on the Saturday, some on Good Friday, some on Maundy Thursday. So it's anywhere between Ash Wednesday and Easter Sunday are the 40 days, excluding the Sabbaths, which are traditionally feast days. And Lent is really a season that is kind of a more somber preparation. It's a time that we remember our sin, we remember our mortality, we remember Christ's death and the hope of his resurrection and the dependence and the redemption that comes through that. So Lent is meant to be a preparation, but also disruption. Typical on Ash Wednesday, you can receive the cross of ashes, and either the priest or the pastor will say, "From dust you have come, and to dust you shall return." And so you enter Lent remembering your mortality and remembering the finiteness of your life. And so that in and of itself leads to a more somber season. And traditionally, people will give up something for Lent. It seems a lot of times it has centered around some type of food and fasting from food. It has also been a time of almsgiving, so also of generosity and giving, a time of prayer, and like I said, a time of fasting. Scott Hubbard put it like this: if we want to make the most of this annual opportunity, we'll do more than just give something up. We'll silence ourselves before the sovereign who became a servant. We'll fasten our eyes upon him as he teaches and heals and smiles and weeps, the only upright man in a world of cracked and curved impostors. We'll stand in awe as we hear him plead in Gethsemane. We'll marvel as he moves from the garden to the cross, silent as a sheep going to the slaughter. We'll adore him as he lets the nails pierce his sinless skin until it is finished. And then we'll put our ears to the ground and listen for the tremors of his rising. And if we do, we might just find ourselves erupting with a deeper joy as we join the universal shout, "He is risen." The season of Lent, it's one of disruption. It's one of remembering our sinfulness, remembering our mortality. And it also reminds us of the Israelites wandering in the wilderness. And it didn't take them 40 years to just find the promised land or to reach it. It's they weren't spiritually ready to arrive. So it reminds us that we need to be spiritually ready to arrive in the 40 days, like their 40 years, to that Easter Sunday. So it's a time of surrendering the false self, drawing close to God, anticipating genuine transformation. So through the practices of fasting, almsgiving, and prayer, we can embark on this interior journey. I feel like Advent was very much an interior journey also, but there's a lot of, feels like exterior preparation, right? And one of the things I love about Lent is there's little as far as exterior preparation. It's really an interior time. So personally, I am really looking forward to Lent this year. You know, there have been years in the past where I maybe wasn't as feeling like, not that I didn't need that time, but like I was maybe a little bit of dread of what am I giving up? You know, what am I going to go 40 days without? I mean, I have given up coffee for Lent. I've given up tea for Lent. And if you are a coffee person, you know, like anticipating being without coffee for 40 days. So there's sometimes in years past, there has been that, oh, what am I giving up? But this year, I don't know, the past, I don't know, should we just say the whole year of 2026? Like, I don't know about you all, but it has just felt heavy for me. It has felt like there has been just a lot going on with the world, a lot of darkness, a lot of evil and pain and hurt and just disagreement among people and fighting among people and people taking sides. And I know this is kind of the human condition, and there's nothing new under the sun. And the things like this have been happening in the world since the beginning. But for whatever reason, for me, it just has felt like I am so ready for the season of Lent. And just for a time to pull back, just in reading about recent events and seeing kind of the global depravity, it has made me feel that that we maybe as believers need to pull back from these systems and really focus on loving the people around us in our lives, loving the people with skin on in our lives. I think it's so easy in our highly connected, technical, computer file driven world that we get angry at people on a screen. We get angry at people we don't know. There's just so much manipulation of our compassion and our emotions that I feel like now more than ever, the Lenten season is a time to pull back and to say, who are the people in my life, in my actual lived life, right? That are the real people that I come into contact with. And how can I love them well? And then how can I do the interior work of preparing for Lent and for Easter? So for me, I was wondering, what am I going to give up this Lent? And I am in the midst of reading a book that so many people have recommended, and I see why. It is called Theo of Golden by Alan Levi. And I was thinking and praying about, what am I going to give up this Lent? Just, God, will you just direct me? Because in the past, I feel like I've chosen something and stuck with it. And sometimes God has convicted me on what to give up, but I just didn't have a clear feeling this year, or a clear feeling of like how to articulate what I wanted to give up and what that would practically look like. And so I landed on, I'm giving up noise. So that was kind of where I landed, where when I'm driving in the car, I'm not going to listen to anything. I'm not going to have noise. When I go to bed at night, I'm not going to have noise. When there is a chance to choose, I am going to choose quiet. So then I was reading Theo of Golden and came across this part in chapter 15. He says, "The old man was of a growing persuasion that the world had become a much too noisy place, too full of manufactured sounds, unruly speech, and angry voices. And he was pleased in these unsought moments of sleeplessness to sit and surrender to the silence, his mind free to take him wherever it wished. He found in such moments the chance to draw upon memory and recall scenes from his long, storied life. He never knew, when he was alone like this, whose face from childhood, which town from adulthood, which agony or ecstasy from his past, or which hope for the future would assert itself in his thoughts." So that just was such a picture of what I want to give up. I want to give up the noise so that my mind will have the freedom to take me wherever it wishes and wherever God wishes my mind to go, right? And that maybe it is just recalling memories and thinking about people in my life and pondering and just having that mental margin. I feel like the noise, like he said, the manufactured sounds, the unruly speech, the angry voices, and just the 24/7 news cycle noise of our lives. Like, I am ready to pull back from that noise. So that's kind of my little summary of what Lent has meant to me and kind of what I'm hoping for in this season. What does that bring to mind for you, Jennifer? What are your Lenten thoughts?
Well, you articulate a lot of the same things that I think and care about with the season. As far as you're talking about, with Christmas, there's a lot of external preparation and things that we do and get out and set up and whatever, decorate. And then for Lent, we do very little, but we have the cradle to cross wreath that I saw at your house first. The same thing that we use for Advent, but it's longer. It has the extender for the 40 instead of the 25 for Advent. But we'll set that up. I will set that up. Right. And I have a purple table runner that I put out on the dining table. I have it's heavy, it's metal, and it's, I don't know, maybe 6 inches tall, but it's 3 crosses, just like what was on Golgotha. And it has the big center one that would have been for Christ, and then the 2 smaller ones on either side. It looks like a blacksmith made it. It's very just raw and heavy and cold. And so I'll set that. I have a table in our downstairs where I will set that. And I have a little piece of purple velvet fabric that I drape over it.
I love that.
So as far as external preparations, that's really it. And then we have the little flip count. It's not, I guess it's a calendar. It's like a church calendar with all the different liturgical seasons. You got that for me, I think, at a conference. I have that sitting up on our counter by my kitchen sink. And so I'll flip that to Lent. I always have some kind of book or study or something like that I'm reading, and I'll usually find a podcast series that's like a journey to the cross theme that I'll just go through every day. Our church does something, maybe the last couple of years they've done it, where you go in, it's sort of a guide. Is it guided?
It has been in the past. Sometimes it's self-guided and sometimes they have people guiding. Yeah, the Stations of the Cross.
Yes, where they have the Stations of the Cross and a piece of artwork that's displayed at each one of those that shows all of the different the different parts of the story leading up to the crucifixion. We do communion at the end, but it's, it's very peaceful and quiet, and there's like ambient music, and it's a time to just pray and contemplate and prepare. And I always appreciate those times, just where it's just intentional, just shutting out all of the noise. That's such a good word, because last year I cut out social media for Lent, but I think noise is probably more of what I was really going for. I think that was the result, cutting out the noise through social media. That's where I observed in my life. It was just starting to kind of occupy a space in my heart that it didn't deserve. And so cutting that out, it just freed my mind and it freed my spirit.
Yes.
And definitely to hear from the Lord, but also to just be more of who I am without being in turmoil in my spirit, especially all just the evil that we interface with in the world through media. And some of it, it's sort of like if you're driving down the highway and there's a wreck, like every 100 feet there's another horrible wreck, and you're like, this carnage, the suffering, the death, it feels like an emergency everywhere I look. And that's what the world feels like right now, and just wanting to turn that off and just go home.
Yes,
that's how I feel.
That is such a great picture to describe how we feel, right?
Just everywhere you turn, there's something that gets your adrenaline up, and something that just makes you realize how dark and sick and disgusting the world can be. And then also thinking there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
And we just are being exposed to it at such a rate that like we can't sustain it.
Right.
Like spiritually and mentally, emotionally. And even the things that our kids see, or that their friends send them.
Right.
It's just very hard to process as a parent, wanting to shield your children from that, but you can't. I know we've talked about that on here before too. So the goal is not anymore, especially once you have teenagers and almost adults, like you can't shield them from it. You have to teach them how to metabolize, is a word that Catherine used a lot. It's not just digest, it's metabolizing, because it really is this systemic experience.
Right.
Helping guide our kids through the things that they're encountering too. But for Lent, for me, I do not read as much as you do, Gretchen, and I'm jealous of your ability to consume so much printed material. I don't know what happens with my time and my brain, but it doesn't happen like that. Maybe I'm in the kitchen too much.
And maybe I'm not.
Well, that's also like a creative outlet for me that I enjoy. But
we appreciate your homemade bread.
My poor starter, I haven't given it any attention since probably before Thanksgiving.
Wow.
I don't think I've baked since Thanksgiving.
Oh my goodness.
My starter's in the fridge going, help, help. But maybe, cutting out the noise. And now I won't be having to do as much studying for my real estate stuff. So now that frees me up a little bit. I should probably be working now. But yeah, Lent for me is typically a time where I'm just very intentional about cutting something out. I've thought about something food-wise, but I feel like that's just, I won't be cutting out caffeine. I'll just tell it to the world. I'll be in bed with a migraine for 10 days. That is not wise. I don't want to take myself out of the game for that long. I will suffer, but I don't know, maybe something food, but definitely the consuming the media, because for my personality, I'm so curious and I don't want anything to be happening that I don't know about, because I don't want to be taken advantage of, and I want to be aware and I want to be prepared, but I can only manage that for so long. And really, what does that change on a day-to-day basis for me? It makes me less available for my family, and it makes my cortisol levels high all the time. And it's time to kind of cut back on that. I feel it. Yeah. I just feel it. And I also feel myself like being drawn back to it. And it's like the verse that says, like, as the dog returns to its vomit. I don't want that. My soul, my spirit is just tired of being... I'm tired of retching.
Yes.
I'm just tired of revisiting it. I've had enough. So for me, it will be picking a book, probably a Bible study plan, maybe getting something from your house, Gretchen, and lighting a candle and just taking some of that, just the news of the world, just removing that. For sure. We don't do any kind of like family Bible study or anything. I've been wanting to get back to watching The Chosen again. I set a reminder on my phone like 2 weeks ago, watch The Chosen tonight. Watch it. I haven't turned it on yet because we've just been so, everybody's got stuff
going on.
Yeah. I love the significance though of some of the symbolism in the way that we look at the Lenten season and how that connects with what was happening in the Old Testament, and how the alignment of Jesus going to the cross, how that aligned with Passover and what was happening just culturally at the time. And it's like the things that happened particularly in the book of Ruth and so many other parts of scripture where you just say, this was so intentional. If you just match up the things that are happening symbolically, traditionally, culturally, and with whatever's happening at whatever story you're studying scripturally, there's going to be something so much deeper. It almost has like this mystical quality to it, because on the surface there's so much more. Once you've looked into scripture and history, you realize there's always another layer of God doing something intentional and hidden in there. And it's almost like he's hiding things for us to like be hungry to find, like you're mining for gold or mining for, like we always do gemstone mining when we go to the mountains, because Amelia has always loved rocks and gems, but just the excitement of finding one more thing, and it makes you realize the Lord is so intentional, so deeply intentional. Just the symbolism of the number 40 is all throughout scripture, with the Israelites in the desert and in the wilderness, and Jesus spending time on his own and praying and fasting, but just even with numbers being throughout scripture, we see that. So that's another thing that's always interesting to me, is anything where there's numbers involved in a season or in a story. But the refinement that comes through the testing, that's kind of a common pattern in scripture, with when the Israelites were in the wilderness, and the testing and God presenting himself to them, and the refining of their faith, and then him bringing them out to the promised land, and seeing that same kind of pattern, really just spiritual formation, the process of spiritual formation, and the people returning their hearts to him. And then with Christ, the resurrection, of course, being the culmination of all of that.
So I am going to study the Psalms this Lent, and I am doing the She Reads Truth Lent study, and it is through the Psalms. And then I got the writing the scriptures, so I'm almost finished writing the book of Acts.
Oh, wow.
And I will finish that this week. And then for Lent, I'm going to write all of the Psalms and do the She Reads Truth Psalm study. Catherine gave us the Hope in the Valley book, so I'm going to go through the Psalms with reading those stories too. So
I'm amazed at your capacity. What am I doing with my life? When does my day go?
Those are my goals, but it will be late nights, and there will be grace and all of that. But I'm hoping that with removing so much of the noise, that will be where the margin is found. And I think that's kind of the point, right? As we give something up to make room for something greater.
And you start to see just how much space you really, like, maybe that's where the capacity comes. You realize, wow, I have really been sacrificing a lot of my valuable head and heart, like my heart, my mind, all of that, my spirit.
Well, it reminded me when you were talking about, when you were giving up social media and well, I want to be informed and I want to know what's going on. I remember the first time I encountered that feeling was I was a teenager. And this will definitely date me, because it was back in the day where every week there was, I think it was Casey Kasem in the Weekend Top 40. Yes, do you remember that?
Yes.
So it was the top 40 songs for that week. And we had a radio with a tape player, and we would record our favorite songs off the top 40. And I remember, I don't remember how old I was. I was somewhere in the teen years. And I remember thinking, I really don't feel like I should be listening to this music. So much of the music just didn't sit well with me and just kind of convicted me a little bit. It was so early in my whole understanding of things. And I remember thinking, I can't give up the weekend top 40 because how will I know anything that's going on, and how am I going to relate to my friends at school if I don't know what the best music is, or the, like the popular music? And so I remember that so vividly, that was the first time I thought of this kind of...
You had FOMO.
Yes. That choosing between like conviction and the world. And I think I probably kept listening to the weekend top 40. So there is that.
Look where you are now.
But that was definitely the first like internal things. It was funny. I'm like, but I'm going to miss out.
Mm-hmm. Now be honest. You had your cassette tape in there, and you had play and record already pressed down, but you just had the pause button pushed.
Oh, you know
So all you had to do was unpause.
Yes. And just really hope that he didn't talk over the beginning of the song, right? And stop talking. This is all we get.
Oh, man.
So we could make our mixtapes, right?
Yes. Y'all are going to have to let us know if you need... Well, you could just look up who Casey Kasem is if you don't know.
I don't know that
you
we'll
young
link
mamas.
the top 40 in the show.
We will not be linking that. For all you little mamas.
So
Wow.
we will definitely share links to all the books that we mentioned. And Jennifer, maybe you could share a picture of your blacksmith crosses. That would be really pretty.
I will.
Yeah,
I think I just got them at Hobby Lobby.
Really?
Yeah, but they're pretty. I love them.
And I love the purple, the color representations too. That's really awesome. So we would love to hear what you all are doing for Lent and how you're preparing. If there are any Bible studies or things that you are doing, we would love to hear about those and share them so others can hear about them on our social media also.
I feel like too, I just kind of had this thought that Lent and Advent are similar because they're both seasons of kind of this internal processing and kind of pulling back and anticipating, but then they end with the celebration, right? Into the Easter season, into the Christmas season. So in my mind, I'm like, do we have Lent recipes? I know we talked a lot about food with Advent and like Thanksgiving, Christmas, our holidays.
We do hot cross buns. That's kind of one of the, on Good Friday.
Right. And I was thinking about what's the other one where you put the marshmallow inside the roll? And
the resurrection rolls.
The resurrection
I think.
rolls,
Yes.
right. And you put the cinnamon on it. So
Yes.
and then you bake it, and then the marshmallow goes away because it kind of melts. So it's like the tomb is empty, but you put the spices on it. Like
Yes. I remember we did those with Allison one year. Yep. That was so fun.
Yep. But yeah, I was trying to think, like, do we have traditions, like food stuff? I can't really think of anything else other than like traditional, like a big Easter dinner. Well, this has been good. This has been an encouraging conversation for me. And now I will probably go home and try to pull together whatever I'm going to be doing every morning when I'm not on my phone. Also not staying up so late studying anymore.
Yes.
I feel like this has been a helpful conversation. And now, Gretchen, with all of the books that you're talking about, I'm going to have to go home and put together my plan.
You're welcome to borrow anything.
I might. You're always very motivating to me for how just diligent and strategic you are. And I am over here flying on the seat of my pants. But I'll do it. I'll get it together. If you have questions about the Lenten season or a relationship with Jesus, or if you just have a burden that you need to share, please message us. Or if you have feedback for our podcast, for our conversations or ideas, we'd love to hear from you too. We'd love for you to connect with us on social media. We're on Instagram at
Find a Moment Podcast.
Yes. And we just hope that this conversation has been a blessing to you. We thank you for finding a moment with us.